I bet you're doing everything right. You're eating healthy, you're exercising, probably meditating, doing yoga, and putting a lot of effort into your sleep hygiene. And I bet you're still low on energy. Am I right? Well, all of these things are important, but if you don't fix your inner hidden stress, it's not gonna matter because stress creates inflammation and it steals your energy. And inner hidden stress is, well, yeah, it's hidden, so we're not always aware of it. If you don't do anything about your hidden inner stress, you'll most probably be stuck exactly where you are for the rest of your life. I was a world champion in doing everything right in order to manage my energy and live healthy, and it didn't work for years. I was going to the gym, I was doing yoga, I was meditating, drinking my smoothies, eating plant-based or keto. I tried a lot of different diets. I was really particular about my sleep. I made sure I had 8 hours of sleep every night, and I did everything right, and I was still running out of energy. And that is when I understood that there are more things that affect our energy than only our lifestyle and our habits. They are important, yes, but if we don't go and take a look at our insides and see what's going on there, we are not going to get the change. We're not going to get the results that we want to get. So I started to learn that our thoughts actually create a physical reaction in our body. And I learned that a lot of the thoughts I was having on a daily basis, almost an hourly, probably every minute, they were creating inner stress. And those were thoughts like irritation, frustration, just being annoyed with small mundane things. It was overthinking, it was worrying, it was criticizing myself, it was feeling guilty, it was being very black and white. Things have to be like that, or they are either like that, or they are like that. So all of these thought patterns really create stress, and stress again creates inflammation. The thing about these thought patterns are that we are not aware of them. Our thoughts are mainly unconscious. They're just running on an automated basis, and we are not aware of all the thoughts going through our head every day. And they are creating stress. So every thought will create a physical reaction. They will create a feeling. If you think happy thoughts, well, yes, they will produce happy feelings, happy hormones. If your thoughts are anywhere near the, let's say, the more negative side of the spectrum, they will create stress. So our brains are so afraid of everything that is uncomfortable. Uncomfortable means that there can be something dangerous there. If we have uncomfortable thoughts, our brains will go, ooh, there's something dangerous here. I need to switch on the stress response in order to make sure that you're safe so that you can either fight or flee and get away from the danger. So every negative thought creates an uncomfortable feeling. Are you with me? And the uncomfortable feeling ignites the stress response. And of course, we won't die if we're stressed once in a while. The problem about these automatic thoughts are that they are, well, first and foremost, they are automatic. We don't notice them. They are unconscious and they run all day long. So if you're anything close to what I used to be, you probably have a lot of these negative thoughts every day, every minute, every second. You're not aware of them, and whenever you're thinking those thoughts, they create stress. In the long run, this creates inflammation. It drains your energy and it's making you sick. And so many people don't understand that. We have tons of research showing that even thinking positive thoughts is positive for your immune system. You get a stronger immune system when you think positive thoughts. Optimists live longer. Pessimists have a shorter lifespan. Their immune system isn't as strong. They get ill on a more frequent basis. That's just the way it is. So you can Google this, you can look it up. There's plenty of research supporting this, that all of your thoughts, they affect your physiology. So join me on this experiment. Imagine that you have some sandpaper between your fingers. And now you fold it so that you have sandpaper on the top and on the bottom. Okay, you hold it between your fingers and then slowly you move it towards your mouth and you open your mouth and then you bite down on the sandpaper, and then you just move your teeth back and forth, and then yeah, you felt that, right? Shivers down your spine. It is super uncomfortable. You know that there's no sandpaper there. Your mind knows that there's no sandpaper there. Still, it has to react to that thought. Are you with me? Are you getting a grip on this? Does it sound logical? Can you see the picture? Every thought you think creates a physical reaction in your body, although you are not aware of it. And an interesting thing about like the negative thoughts, the uncomfortable thoughts, is that we can get addicted to them. Uh-huh. You heard me right. You can get addicted to them. I used to be addicted to them. So our brain loves everything which is familiar because it thinks it's safe. Anything new could be dangerous, so your brain doesn't like new stuff. It loves the old thoughts you've been thinking every day for 30, 40, 50 years. It loves everything familiar. So it will do anything it can to keep you stuck in your old thoughts. Not very encouraging, is it? Well, I wouldn't tell you this if there wasn't a solution to that problem, because we can change how we think and we can change how we feel, and we can get rid of all that inner hidden stress. Okay, so just relax. I'll tell you how you can do this. So your brain is afraid of everything new, and it will do everything it can in order to just keep you where you're at, thinking the same old thoughts. So in a sense, everything is just moving against your wish to break free from those thoughts. And then when you think a negative thought, when you have a lot of inner stress, it creates strong emotions. Are you with me? And strong emotions, although they are not comfortable, they can be addictive because we can start craving that feeling. It's a strong emotion. It makes us feel alive, right? So if you're watching a horror movie, is it comfortable? No, not really. Do you still do it? Well, we do stuff which is uncomfortable, right? Because it creates strong emotions, and strong emotions make us feel alive. And we want to feel alive. We don't want to be flat, do we? We want to be vibrant. We want to be happy, or at least we want to feel some strong emotions. So all those negative thoughts that create the stress response, you can get addicted to them. You will get addicted to them. I used to be so addicted to them. And when I started to become aware of this, and I started working on stopping those thoughts, turning them around, and installing new thoughts, I was just like, oh, but I want to think those old thoughts. I was just being pulled back to the old thoughts. So this is completely normal. Okay, so let's take it even step further back so that you can get the real picture and understand how everything is tied together. Are you with me still? Okay, great. So your thoughts, they don't just appear with no reason. There's a reason why those thoughts are there. And the thoughts are there, and they are a result of old programming, all patterns in your unconscious mind. Again, it's hidden, it's unconscious. You're not supposed to be aware of it, okay? The thing is, when you start to become aware and you start questioning this and you start noticing how you feel and you start backtracking it, you will become aware of it. You will become aware of those old patterns that are running you. And just by becoming aware, often you can stop it. Often you can change it. First of all, it is important that we take a step back and we decide, okay, so what life do I really want to live? One of the biggest game changers for me was that I had decided that I wanted my life to be happy and playful and vibrant. I was like, I'm not going to accept a life that I don't love. Life is short. I have these years on this planet. I want to make the most of it. I want to be happy. And later, when I understood that I was criticizing myself, that I was feeling guilty about everything, that I was beating myself, I was being so hard on myself, like most other people are. I was irritated. I was annoyed. I was noticing everything which was negative. So when I realized that this was my main thought pattern, I also realized that, okay, well, those thoughts are making me unhappy, and I've chosen happiness. I said to myself that my life is supposed to be happy. I want a good life. And that's the only thing I can accept for myself. I'm not going to accept a life I'm not enjoying. And then on the one hand, I had my vision of my life, happiness, freedom, vibrancy. On the other hand, the other part of me, I had these limiting patterns, the thought patterns, and all the negative inner dialogue, all the self-talk that was just creating all that negativity. And I realized those two are not compatible. I can't have them both. It's not possible. So right then and there, I understood that I had to choose. I couldn't choose happiness and at the same time hold on to beating myself up, criticizing myself, and being irritated and frustrated. They just don't go together. I realized that I had to choose. And this was the biggest game changer for me because I wanted happiness. I wanted vibrancy. I wanted that good life. And I understood that that implied letting go of all those thought patterns. And I promise you, it was a huge process starting to become aware, starting to realize what patterns and what thoughts didn't serve me, and then practicing new thoughts that gave me the result I wanted. In this process where I discovered all of this and I started turning it around, I also discovered that, okay, so those thought patterns, they are there for a reason, and they are all connected to the feeling of not being enough, not being worthy, not being as good as everyone else. Are you with me still? So you might not be aware that you have had those feelings. Most people do. And when we feel that we are less valuable than other people, that we're not as good as other people, that we're not good enough, our brain will think that we are in danger, like serious danger, because your brain is programmed in a way that functioned very well for our ancestors. Think about your ancestors 2 million years ago on the savannah in Africa. They depended on their tribe. If they, for some reason, were kicked out of the tribe, imagine a person, your ancestor, being alone on the savannah. There were dangerous animals, maybe other dangerous tribes. There could be a drought. There could be lack of food. There could be so many things. Life was dangerous. We depended on our tribe, and our brain knows that. It is programmed into everyone's brain that you need to be part of your tribe, your community. And the brain goes, okay, so it is important that you're part of the tribe, of your community. And how can I make sure that you're actually a part of the tribe, that you will be accepted and not lose your place in the tribe? And the brain goes, ooh, okay, if you're valuable, then at least you'll be accepted, right? So whenever we have an inner thought of being less valuable than someone else, our brain goes, whoa, you're in danger, you're about to die. And that's the reason why you start criticizing yourself and beating yourself up, because the brain thinks if you just beat yourself up, if you're hard on yourself, if you just push yourself, you are going to get more perfect. You are going to get better and more valuable, right? So all of these thought patterns, these negative thought patterns that create the inner hidden stress, that creates inflammation, that steals your energy, and in the long run makes you sick, they are connected to that inner feeling of being less worthy, not as good as other people, not lovable, all those feelings. And you might not be aware of it. And when you start to tune into what's going on inside of you, I'm pretty sure that you'll notice that it's there. It's there for everyone. It is. It's natural because our brains are so afraid of us dying. So even though we start our lives knowing that we are valuable, our brains are so afraid of it being the opposite way. So it's scanning the world for proof that we're not valuable, because it's better to know about it and then we can do something about it than to be surprised later on, right? So your brain will constantly scan for proof that you're less valuable than other people. Although it is not true, it will just interpret the world in that way. And whenever it finds proof that that is true, it will store it as a pattern. And most of the patterns that are running you, that are defining your thoughts and feelings, emotions now as an adult, most of those programs were installed when you're a kid, especially age 0 to 7. Those are the formative years where kids are just like soaking up everything that is happening around them. They're supposed to. That's a child's job, to learn about themselves and the world so that they can function as human beings when they grow up and move out. So children are just soaking up everything they can see around them and hear, and their brains are not fully developed, right? So they will misinterpret a lot of stuff, and we end up with patterns in our unconscious mind that determine how we feel about ourselves, what we think about the world, our thoughts, our emotions, everything. And they're based on a child's brain which is not fully developed, which doesn't understand anything about the world, and which is misinterpreting the world, and a brain which is so afraid of not being enough, so that it's actually looking for proof that you're not enough. And in that way, the patterns will just get stronger and stronger with every day. And in the end, it just becomes who you are, and you don't question it anymore. And it's always there running you from this unconscious place, and you're not even noticing it. Well, from now on, it will be different, right? Because now you are aware, you will start noticing it. And when you're aware, you can actually change it. So first of all, I want you to start understanding what is going on in your head. The best thing is to write it down. What thoughts are in my head? And maybe you can start by asking yourself, okay, what is a recurring negative thought that is looping in my head? It can be, I have gained so much weight, or I look so old, or I'm never able to finish what I start, or I'm never going to find true love, or whatever it is for you. Write that one down, and then you write down, okay, how does that make me feel? When I think this thought, how does it make me feel? And what limitations does it give me? What's the results, the negative results, the side effects of thinking this thought? Okay. And then you go ahead and you think, okay, so this thought doesn't serve me. If I want to have a life where I'm happy, I'm vibrant, I'm healthy, and I have a lot of energy, I can't think these thoughts. Okay, so I need to change it. So what do I want to think instead? So when we're practicing new thoughts, just be aware it will take a while for you before this thought is adopted. So just be patient. You need to continue practicing the new thought. So write down, what do you want to think about yourself instead? If you're constantly thinking, I never finish what I start, I am not able to finish what I start, then the new thought, okay, of course it could be, I can finish everything. I finish everything I start. Although that could be a far stretch for your brain. Your brain might go, oh, you know that? I don't believe that. That is stretching it too far. So what I always recommend my clients is to start with a thought which is easier to digest for your brain, okay? So it can be, for example, when I'm aware, or when I practice, when I focus, I am able to finish things. The more I practice, or the more I change my thoughts, the more I will be able to finish things. So make it around the process, because that's true. If you start practicing, changing your thoughts and changing your lives, if you start getting into personal development, you're in a process. So focus on the process, and don't try to paint this golden picture, which is so far away from the truth, because your brain is not going to eat it. Okay. And then when you have the new thought, write down, how does that thought make me feel? And what possibilities does it open up in my life now? And the next step is to practice the new thoughts. Okay. So you're ready to start practicing? Cool. Okay. So one last thing I want to mention to you. We store everything in our unconscious mind. Everything that is happening is stored in our unconscious mind. A lot of it is just memories, and it's just there, and it doesn't really affect us. And then we have events that, when they happen and your brain feels that you can't control the situation, that you're a victim in the situation, or you can't understand it because maybe you're a child and what's happening is greater than what your brain can understand. When stuff like that happens, it is stored as emotional stress, also called trauma. It can be a big T trauma or a small t trauma. When we're speaking about trauma, it's not really the event that happened that affects us. It is the brain's interpretation of it that decides how it will affect us. There was a girl who was struggling with OCD, and one of the things that came up from her childhood was that she had lost a doll. As an adult, you might think losing a doll, is that really anything to like, is that traumatic? Yeah, it can be for a child. So anything can be traumatic for anyone. So it's not really the event, it is our brains, how mature our brains are, how much our brain feels that it can control it or not. If you feel that you can control a situation, you can understand it, that you're not in the passenger seat, that you actually have some sense of agency and you can stand strong in the situation, even though it's a horrible thing, it won't be stored as a traumatic experience. So what happens when we experience stuff in life which is stored as emotional stress, small t or big T trauma? It is stored in high definition. Normal memories are stored in low definition. If you think about what you had for dinner yesterday, you can think about it without feeling an emotional charge, right? And there will be some memories from your life where you think about them and you'll be like, oh, this creates a lot of emotions when I think about it. And the reason you're getting emotional when you think about those old stories is that those are running inside of you like a movie and they're running on repeat. And your brain is thinking that it is happening now. Are you with me? And when something is happening now, your brain will think that you need to take an action in order to get into safety and get away from the situation, control it in some way, do some kind of action. And those are the emotions that are rising up. The thing about these old things that happen to us, the emotional clutter, the emotional stress, small t trauma, losing a doll, or it can be whatever. The thing about it is that they are running inside of us on repeat all day long and we're not even aware of it. It is creating stress and it is stealing our energy. So yes, there's a lot you can do on your own by number one, becoming aware of what you're thinking and then going through the process that I told you. What is that thought? How does it affect me? What are the negative consequences? How does it make me feel? What do I want to think instead? And that new thought, how does that make me feel? And what opens up for me? What possibilities open up for me now? So go through that process. You can do that on your own. You can start practicing changing your thoughts and creating the identity of the person that you want to be. When it comes to all that old emotional stress, the small t trauma, whatever, all those things creating inner stress, that's something you need to take to a therapist, a coach, someone who can work on reprogramming your unconscious mind so that they can pull out all those old emotional stressors and really take out the emotional charge so that it doesn't affect you in the same way anymore. I'm really excited to see what is going to happen with you when you start doing this work, when you start changing your thought and maybe go see a therapist or a coach who can reprogram your unconscious mind and remove some of that emotional clutter. I would love to hear your experience and how everything develops.